Have you ever gotten something you desperately wanted, and days later felt like you never had anything at all? A study on lottery winners, published back in the 1970s, found something disturbing. 6 months after the prize, these people's happiness levels returned to exactly where they were before they got rich. Not a little lower. Exactly the same. And the most terrifying part is that the same study compared these winners to people who had suffered accidents and become paraplegic. After a while, the happiness gap between the two groups was far smaller than anyone would have imagined. This means there's something inside you, right now, wired to never let you rest satisfied. And it's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of gratitude. It's biology. And today I'm going to show you exactly how this mechanism works, why it's being used against you every single day, and what to do once you understand the uncomfortable truth behind it. Let's start with a simple question. Why does the feeling of making it never last? You switch jobs, you land the salary you wanted, and 3 months later you're already eyeing the next position. You buy the house, the car, the relationship you dreamed of, and within a few weeks your mind has already found a new reason to be unsatisfied. It looks like a lack of purpose, it looks like ingratitude, but scientists have a technical name for it: hedonic adaptation. And what that name hides is more interesting than it sounds. The human brain was not designed by evolution to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. And satisfaction, constant happiness, permanent contentment, that's practically an invitation to danger from an evolutionary standpoint. Think about it. If one of your ancestors, 50,000 years ago, had found enough food, safe shelter, and simply stopped there, satisfied, without seeking anything more, he would have had a lower chance of surviving the next winter, the next drought, the next predator. Constant dissatisfaction wasn't a flaw. It was a competitive advantage. The individuals who never felt fully satisfied, who always wanted more stored food, more territory, more alliances, were precisely the ones who left more descendants behind. And guess who inherited that mechanism? You. Here's the first twist nobody tells you. The problem isn't that you're broken. It's that you're functioning perfectly well, just inside a world completely different from the one this system was calibrated for. To really understand this, we need to talk about dopamine, and here most people get the concept entirely wrong. Everyone thinks dopamine is the pleasure chemical. It isn't. A neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz ran experiments on monkeys decades ago that completely changed that idea. He discovered that dopamine doesn't fire when you receive the reward. It fires before, in anticipation. And more importantly, it fires more intensely when the reward is uncertain than when it's guaranteed. In other words, your brain isn't rewarding you for having. It's rewarding you for wanting. The chemistry of motivation and the chemistry of satisfaction are, literally, different systems. And the system that dominates, that speaks louder, is the one tied to the chase, not the one tied to arrival. This explains why the anticipation of a trip is often more pleasurable than the trip itself. Why dating someone in the early days, full of uncertainty, generates more emotional intensity than years later, instability. Why checking your phone waiting for a notification activates your brain more than actually reading the message. You were built to chase, not to rest at the finish line. Now, if that were everything, you might think, fine, that's just how the human species has always been. We're always going to live chasing something, it's part of the deal. But here comes the second twist, and this is the one that really matters for your life today. This ancient mechanism, designed to operate in an environment of scarcity, where rewards were rare, hard to earn, and spaced out over time, got dropped into a world specifically engineered to exploit it. Not by accident. On purpose. Tech companies literally hired neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to design products that activate this seeking circuit without ever delivering full satisfaction. Infinite scroll has no end because, if it did, your brain would rest. Likes arrive unpredictably, at random intervals, because variable reward is proven to be more addictive than predictable reward. This was already known since B.F. Skinner's experiments with pigeons, decades before the internet existed. They just swapped the pigeon's lever for the screen in your pocket. Think about how many times you've opened an app just to see what's new. There was no hunger there. No real need. There was a seeking system being deliberately activated, with no chance of arrival. And this doesn't happen only on social media. It happens in consumption. The retail industry knows, with precise data, that the satisfaction of a new purchase lasts, on average, very little time before the desire for the next item starts growing again. There's even a market term for it: psychological obsolescence. It's not the product that gets old first. It's the desire for it. So here's the uncomfortable truth: you're not simply dissatisfied by nature. You're dissatisfied because you were born with an ancient system, built for scarcity, and thrown into a world of artificial abundance, designed by people who profit exactly from your inability to feel enough. But wait, because that still doesn't explain everything. There's another layer, maybe even quieter, and that's social comparison. A psychologist named Leon Festinger, back in the 1950s, formulated an idea that seems obvious today but was revolutionary at the time. Human beings evaluate their own worth not in absolute terms, but always in comparison to the people around them. This means your sense of having enough never depends solely on what you have. It depends on what the people near you have. And here lies a cruel detail. For practically all of human history, the people around you meant a small group. The village, a few dozen or a few hundred people. Today, the people around you is the entire world, edited, filtered, and displayed through a screen. You're no longer comparing yourself to the neighbor who also struggles. You're comparing yourself, constantly, to the best moments, hand-picked and edited, of millions of people at once. Your brain, calibrated for small-scale comparison, is now processing comparison on a global scale, non-stop, every day. No wonder enough feels farther away than ever. And if you stop to think about it, there's a painful irony in all of this. The more these people show off success, happiness, and achievements online, the more likely it is that they themselves are trapped in the exact same cycle, showing you a satisfaction they don't fully feel either. Everyone filming the arrival that, in truth, never actually arrived. So, given all of this, the question that remains is there any way out? Or are we condemned to live chasing a horizon that keeps moving farther away? This is where science, actually, brings news that's both uncomfortable and liberating at the same time. Researchers who study long-term well-being, including longitudinal studies that followed people for decades, like Harvard's famous study on adult development, reached a conclusion that contradicts almost everything consumer culture sells you. Lasting satisfaction doesn't come from accumulating external achievements, money, status, possessions. It comes, consistently, from the quality of human connections and from how you relate to the process of seeking itself, not just to the outcome. This doesn't mean you stop wanting things. It means understanding that wanting will never disappear, and trying to eliminate it is fighting against the very architecture of your brain. The difference between living constantly unhappy and living at peace, even as an ambitious person, lies in where you place your attention. Those who learn to draw meaning from the path itself, from the building, from the process, from being in pursuit, instead of dumping all their emotional expectation exclusively onto the finish line, manage to partially break the cycle. Not because they stopped desiring, but because they stopped outsourcing all their peace to a future moment that, as you've already seen, never delivers what it promises. And there's another practical point, backed by research in behavioral psychology. Conscious, repeated exposure to good things, without rushing, without distraction, without automatic consumption, partially reactivates the capacity to feel real satisfaction. Simple mindfulness practices, deliberately savoring a moment, an achievement, a meal, a conversation, have shown, in controlled studies, a measurable increase in reported well-being. It's not magic. It's actively retraining a system that the modern environment trained to always jump to the next stimulus before processing the current one. In the end, maybe the question should never have been, why am I never satisfied? Maybe the right question is, what am I letting define my enough? Because if it's an algorithm designed to keep you scrolling, or the edited lives of millions of strangers, you now know, from both experience and science, that this bar will never stop moving. But if it's you, aware of your own mechanism, deciding what actually matters and paying real attention to what's already in your hands, then, for the first time, the game shifts in your favor. You weren't born incapable of feeling enough. You were born with an ancient system, dropped into a new world, deliberately designed to keep you dissatisfied. And understanding that isn't the end of the search. It's the beginning of the first search that's actually worth pursuing. The one to slowly reclaim the right to feel that what you already have is, in fact, enough.